Everyone's like, oh, look, here comes Pensy Joe bringing the Pennsylvania stuff because really test the LED in the headlight, but we'll take this quite well by all. Regular combination, she's all that Speed at 10. Proceed to 15. Hey everybody, this is Pensy Joe back again for another DCC upgrade video. And today we're going to be doing the M1. This is 6755. 6175 does not have a keep alive capacitor. Now this is a capacitor right here, but it's just not enough on certain areas, even though this is a rather large locomotive. A mountain type is not a small locomotive by any means, including the length of the tender. However, both trucks can only pick up from one side. So the right rail picks up from the rear on the tender truck, and the left side picks up on the front truck. Locomotive only picks up from the drive wheels, which is about a footprint about this wide on both sides. As far as I know, pilot and trailing truck do not pick up power. So that's just something I've come to figure out. So there's not too much for it to go on. I've been able to clean the wheels and clean up the layout. So we're going to splice the wire. We're going to cut the wires here. And then we're going to reattach with the Keep Alive right here. This is a Keep Alive 3. If it focuses. You can get any of the Keep Alives. I just choose Keep Alive 3, and there's a Keep Alive 2 that I have somewhere on the shelf of this workbench. I'm going to cut around right here, cut around right here for this, take it off, solder it together, tape maybe the capacitor pack maybe right around here or right here, and then we're going to close up the tender shell, bring it downstairs, and do a test run with it and see how much better it performs. Without any ado, let's get started where I cut the wires off and solder them together. Okay, so I frayed both wires for this and the wires that go to the decoder. Now what I want to do is put them in some flux. Just dab the frayed ends inside the flux. I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to do the same thing with the tender as well. Just bring that close to it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I'm going to dab the solder onto it. If you don't know how the soldering, I'm going to show you how this works. It's like a magic trick in a sense. But once you know chemistry and, heating and all that stuff, fluid mechanics, with including, thermodynamics and all that stuff, it's it comes down to how amazing they, come to figure this out over the years with soldering wires and whatnot. Anywho, I'll show you the next part where I actually start, putting the solder on the ends of the wires. Okay. So what you're going to do is when you have your hot soldering iron ready, you're going to want to have the contact tip of your soldering iron and tap it here, and you'll see smoke come off because it's melting the flux onto the wire. And while you do that, you can then put your solder on it and just rub it back and forth, and you're going to just want to gently pull it away so you got to have a nice wad of solder building up on the surface. So when you pull it away, it doesn't all come with it, and there's barely any solder on there. And then when you do your joints together, it could be kind of sketchy. So I don't have 3 hands, and I don't have my mount with me, and especially to get a good angle like this. So at some point, I'd like to invest in something like this. With any railroad project, don't worry. There's so many projects, even though I look like I'm coming close to the end of soldering all my Broadway steam engines that I can't do sound and DCC for. Don't worry, there's always going to be more projects to do and products to work on. I do have some diesels to work on, so yeah, stay tuned for those when those do come around. So I'm going to wait until my soldering iron warms up to a certain temperature, and I'll show you the after, the results of what I just explained to you. Okay, I'm not sure if it's gonna focus well. Probably not. But there we go. Yeah, right there. So now you can see how it's got some nice solder on there and some little bit extra, so that when I put it together, it makes like a nice join connection once I put the wires together with the tender. So I'm going to show you the after result after connecting this to the tender. And I'm also going to put the heat shrinking tube on first before, obviously, I join the wires together to the wires on the tender. Okay, so this is the results after I saw them together. Got a nice bulb on this one. It's nice and shiny. It's not dull anywhere. I mean, mainly you just want to be, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but you really want it to matter when it comes to shiny connection between the two wires. So when it's shiny there, and that's good. Same thing with the other wire for the ground wire. It's nice and shiny, not really dull, so the connection's pretty good. Now all I'm gonna have to really do after that is just use the heat gun to get the shrink tube on, and I'll show you the after what that looks like at the end, and then I'm gonna tape this down as well to the board of the tender or the chassis of the tender, and then we'll call it a day and give this locomotive a run on the layout. Maybe double head it with my other locomotive, number 67, I think 91. I'm trying to remember the number, but yeah, well, we'll get right to that. Alrighty, as you can see, this is now taped to the board, and this is what the heat shrinking looks like. Nice and tight, nice and snug. It's not going to slip off, and the wire's not going to contact anything metal. And without further ado, we can put the tender back on. Make sure all the wires are in place and not being squeezed to the side of the tender walls. And there you go. That's it. Pretty much simple. I'm kind of missing the screws for like to hold it down, but I mean, I don't want to worry about this, honestly. It clips on as well with also the screw. So yeah, now the locomotive has gotten an upgrade with Keep Alive. We can take it down to the layout and do some test runs with it. So without further ado, let's get going downstairs. Okay, so I both have 6755 and 6791 mewed together and ready to go. Both locomotives are absolutely stunning working together. So without further ado, again, for a third time, let's get these locomotives running together and do some small running session pass-bys. Hey everybody, I hope you all enjoyed this DCC upgrade video with the M1. It's cool that I can do two, projects, not really at once, but like almost at once. We got a DCC install video finally for the M1B, especially for Blueline, and we get to do a DCC upgrade video for an M1B. Although, if I was going to do like a keep alive upgrade, that's really what you're going to see is just me soldering keep alives. So this is probably going to be the last time you'll see me do like stuff like this, unless it's something completely different that I'm upgrading, like a lighting function or something like that. But this is Pensy Joe signing out again for this video, and I'll see you guys next time in the next one. All right, bye now.